Jays with the largest free agent signing in team history, reportedly getting Dylan Cease for 7 years, $210 million. I'm with Kyle and CJ Nitkowski. CJ, wrap our heads around this one. What kind of a pitcher are Jays fans going to see on the bump in Toronto?
Yeah, it's a big one. This was a big deal and sent some shockwaves throughout Major League Baseball. I mean, there's no getting around that part of it. As far as what kind of pitcher are you getting? You're getting a guy who's been really consistent, who's been really healthy. If you go back and look, the only time he's ever missed time is when he got put on the COVID IL for having COVID. He's never missed a start in his career. He has been unbelievably reliable, especially in this day and age, since he's gotten to the big leagues. He is a guy that's got really consistent, tremendous swing and miss strikeout kind of power. He knows how to spin the baseball really well. There has been some inconsistencies in what he has done, but the thing that has been consistent is that he's made starts and he gets swings and miss. The issue he runs into sometimes is that he's not pitch efficient. And so that has cost him opportunities to get deep in games. If you go look at his game logs this past year, it's a handful of starts. I think it was 10 of them that were under 5 innings, and a lot of it had to do with high pitch counts. Not always a bad outing, but he's 93 pitches in, 4 1/3, and they had a good bullpen in San Diego, and so they'd get him out of there. That's the only kind of knock on him. Other than that, he has been incredibly consistent. It's a big arm, and again, he knows how to strike guys out.
So where exactly do you figure he will slot into this rotation?
It's a good question, right? I think probably right behind Kevin Gausman. As much as Trey Savage was so much fun to watch, he's still young, right? He's still got to show that he can kind of go wire to wire, and we joked about it right during the postseason that I'm not sure he's ever going to pitch in a bigger game, and he may not have a bigger moment than he's already had in his young career. His next step, and test is going to be, I'll say 32 starts, but maybe 28 at the big league level is a fair number these days. So I think with him, Jose Barrios, Shane Bieber, Dylan Cease is a guy who should be your number 2. And it's a really nice number 2 to have, because at that kind of number, he could be a number 1 for a lot of teams that don't have a true ace. And you go look at what's happening in the division. Of course, the Blue Jays held off the Yankees in winning that tiebreaker, and look at the Yankees rotation when healthy, right? It's Garrett Cole, it's Max Fried, it's Carlos Rodon. These are big contracts, and those are 3 guys that could be aces on other teams. I think what you got here with Dylan Cease, which is a really smart play and a brave one and a bold one by the Blue Jays, is another guy who could be an ace that doesn't have to pitch in the ace spot because of Kevin Gausman.
People might give this a quick glance and see Cease's stats from last year. 8-12 with a 4.55 ERA, and say, have the Blue Jays lost their mind giving him a 7-year deal for $210 million? Make those stats make sense.
So I'll tell you this, the ERA doesn't scare me. What does scare me is actually how consistent and healthy he's been. It's just tough to do, right? The fact that it's been 32 plus starts now 5 years in a row. Can he really do that for 7 more years? Probably not. It's not the reality in today's game. So that part makes me a little bit more nervous. Like, he's probably going to miss some time at some point. If he doesn't, great. But he already had a Tommy John in high school. He went to high school right down the street from me here, not very far at all. I heard his name a lot when he was 17 and 18 years old. And a lot of fans here in Atlanta were hoping maybe he would come to pitch for the Braves this offseason. But instead, of course, he's going to Toronto with this really big deal. So that's the only part that makes you a little bit nervous. It doesn't make you shy away from guys, but there's something about being healthy and consistent in this day and age that says, well, that's not going to last, right? It can't last, because it doesn't for even the best in the game. The other thing you can look at, though, if the ERA scares you when people kind of bring that up, we have more advanced analytics to kind of dig into. And one of those numbers is what they call fielding independent pitching. And it kind of gives you an ERA number. But what it does is it takes what the team is doing behind you completely out of it and what you can control. And what you can control are strikeouts, are walks, are home runs. And you go look at his FIP. His FIP is a 3.5. And you look throughout his career, and that's kind of where he has been. He's been kind of in the low 3s, mid 3s through most of his career. It's a really good number. The differential there of almost exactly a point is a big margin. And so ERA is not that indicator that we use nearly as much anymore. Win-loss record is not that indicator that we use very much. I think a lot of that had to do with, again, some of those shorter outings. It was a good team with a good bullpen, so it is surprising to see that 8-12 record. But don't let those 2 things scare you off or get you nervous. The strikeouts have been there. The FIP has been good. Again, the only thing that makes me just a little bit concerned is, as silly as this sounds, is how reliable and healthy he's been.
I've never heard about the FIP. What is the highest FIP you've seen?
Well, we could probably bring up CJ Nitkowski's baseball reference page and probably because I really thought it was fun to walk guys. I didn't realize you weren't supposed to do that. It's a good
More
number,
camera
but yeah, listen, you can compare it in a way to ERA. I brought it up a lot in the National League rookie voting this year because an Atlanta Brave and Drake Baldwin was, as a catcher, was hoping he was going to win it. He did. The guy who was in competition with Cade Horton had a really good ERA, but if you looked at his FIP, it went in the other direction, where it was minus about a point. And I wasn't trying to trash talk him. Of course, I'm trying to sell our guy and hoping he's going to win it. But the point that I was bringing up is that, yeah, he's been good and he's got a good ERA, but it's probably a little bit hollow when you go and look at his fielding independent pitching and what he had control of. A lot of that had to do with the fact that he wasn't a big strikeout guy. Dylan Cease is a huge strikeout guy. He led the league in that strikeout per 9 rate at 11.5. That is a huge number. Your average starter, I believe, is around 8 these days. So way, way above an average big league starter. When you get swing and miss, you're going to have a really good FIP. It helps out.
And it's fair to say that he's coming into, from a free agent's perspective, a relatively low pressure situation, given that this team was so close to winning the World Series. And he's just now another piece of the puzzle. He doesn't have the entire pressure of the whole staff on his back. And they're here. They were so close to winning. And this is obviously a message to the fan base that they intend to stay right there.
Yeah, and he doesn't come across as a guy that pressure seems to be an issue. You guys will get to know him a little bit, certainly in this first press conference and then throughout the year. He's got a little bit of a hippie vibe to him. He's kind of fun in that regard. So he's a laid back guy. He's an interesting guy. He'll have some very interesting quotes. I think fans will really kind of like him. Whenever you're that personality, though, usually you're that personality all the time, right? So win or lose, when you're winning, it's like, man, look how poised and relaxed this guy is. And then if things aren't going well, the question is like, well, does this guy care? No, he's the same guy, right? It's just that he doesn't necessarily ride the roller coaster, which I think is just one of those things that's important to kind of know and keep an eye on. And because I've seen it, I've had him on my radio show. I've always found him really kind of fascinating to talk to.
So the Blue Jays have handed out $500 million to Vladdy Jr., $200 million to Cease. What does this mean for Bo Bichette? Does this huge price tag mean the Jays are out of the Bo Bichette sweepstakes, or does this mean they're going to have a very expensive offseason?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it means they're going to have a very expensive offseason, right? So the payroll now is up above by about $5 million where they were last year. The number you keep an eye on, and what we talked about earlier this week, was that luxury tax number. And that estimate for the luxury tax number right now is at about 275. So they are knocking on the door of that third level, which I believe is 284, and I'm in front of me right now, but they're close to it. As far as the tax, it goes up with every level that you hit. The penalties get higher based on how often you've actually crossed the luxury tax. So from that standpoint, I'm not sure because listen, again, you got that close. You felt like you should have won it. You understand what that would have meant to this fan base and to the entire country of Canada, and you ended up missing out on it. Is it keeping you really aggressive now because you have a good group of guys you have a chance to win with, and you don't want to let that get away? I hope it doesn't mean that they're not in on a big bat, including Bo Bichette, whoever it may be, right? We talked about this last time. It seems like there is a spot for one big bat that they need. They have options on where they can go, second base, third base, or right field in order to make that happen. Does it mean they're out on Kyle Tucker? I don't know, but you go back to the last couple of years and the issues, of course, where they were just falling short on Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto, and maybe they've decided we're not going to finish second anymore. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to identify the guys that we want, and we're not going to miss out. So I hope they keep going. It's fun to talk about. It's great for baseball. Keeps really good players out of the National League, which is something I root for as an Atlanta Braves broadcaster. And remember what we mentioned last time, too. We were wondering about, would the Blue Jays be willing to give up what it's going to cost to sign a qualifying offer free agent? They just lost their second and fifth highest picks in the draft and $1 million in international signing pool bonus money. That is significant. So while the contract in itself jumps off the page, for a lot of people in front offices, especially your draft people, they just realized they lost 2 really big picks and a bunch of international money. And I think it's another kind of sign that the Blue Jays are being very aggressive.
Does this mean essentially, though, that there's only one more big contract to go out? Like the odds of them getting both Bichette and Tucker at this point now, that's probably a stretch, right?
I would be shocked. Listen, even if they do one more big one, it's a big deal. I think the question becomes, like we also talked about, is now what would be the smartest play? Yeah, I think a big bat would be necessary. But if you're telling me you can go get, say, Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker, or Edwin Diaz, I would tell you that I probably want Edwin Diaz. right? And thinking about how seasons play out and run prevention, if you're putting this money into a guy like Dylan Cease, and you can lock up the best closer that's available right now on a multi-year deal, I'd probably want to go that route. So we'll see. We'll see if they got another one in the tank. And then, of course, it's fun for all of us to sit here and speculate, well, what should they do? It's not our money, right? We're not going to lose out on it, but it's fun to spend it. But for me, as much as I'd love to see them get that big bat or bring Bo Bichette, right? He wants to be a part of this. He's been a part of it the entire time. He sees what this team is doing. I imagine he wants to be back in the worst way. Not that he's going to give any kind of hometown discount, but what really is the smartest move now going forward? And I think you can make an argument that it would be Edwin Diaz.
I'll tell you what a smart move is. I'm trying to start this rumor. I tried to start it with Keegan Matheson today. Cody Bellinger, Toronto Blue Jay.
It's a good one. I would take it.
He'll hit 50 home runs at the Dome alone.
And you get that positional flexibility too, right? Not that you necessarily need a center fielder. You certainly don't need a first baseman, but he can do all those things. And so from that standpoint, yeah, he'd be a good one. I'd still be worried about the bullpen though, right? I mean, if they went out and they got Cody Bellinger and there was no big investment in the bullpen, you're hanging on for dear life with a lead.
Yeah, you just have to win 13-10. No problem.
Yeah, which you might be able to do, right? So I'm in on Cody Bellinger. Listen, all those names fit for the Blue Jays. Again, that's why, and I think I said this on Monday, right? It's why they're the envy of a lot of teams, is not just that they can go after big guys, but they have different ways in which they can get a big guy because of the certain players they have now. They can move them around. Some teams can't do that. The Yankees can't do that right now. Not with Judge and Wright and Stanton at DH. Like, those guys are locked in, and now the Grisham's back. He's their center fielder. Like, they don't have the flexibility that the Blue Jays have to go out and get a big bat. And no doubt the Yankees are in on Bellinger, I'm sure, as well. But like, Kyle Tucker's a problem for them because he's a right fielder. He's not a problem for the Blue Jays. They can make it work.
And this is a clear message to other free agents around baseball, not just this offseason, but in future off seasons, that Toronto is in fact now a desired destination to go and try your hand at a World Series, is it not?
Yeah, they're doing a really nice job of making that happen. Or we talked about it from the Japanese side a little bit, and what does that mean for Japanese players? And I think it's a great place to play. The stuff that they've been doing with families and trying to make sure everybody is comfortable, that's become more important in our game now than ever. At the end of the day, money talks in our game. For sure. But there is something too. We have seen some guys, because there is so much money out there these days, leave significant money on the table to go where they want to go. Right. And that's what's made it a little bit more difficult for maybe teams that don't have the environment that some players want to go to. But I think the Blue Jays have done a really good job. What they've done with the ballpark, I mention it all the time. My radio partner, Ryan Spilborgs, we talk about it all the time. It's one of our favorite trips. Like, it's just fun going to Toronto outside of Dan, calling me all the time and trying to get lunch. Like, everything else about it is pretty awesome. And I think players recognize that as well. They've done an excellent job upgrading that ballpark and making it a place you want to play.
CJ, thanks for taking time out with your family as it's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. What's being served in the Nitkowski house tomorrow?
Yeah, so we got 16 here tomorrow, and everyone's staying here in our house too. But that'll be a lot of fun. So 3 different turkeys because I'm paranoid that one's not going to work out. I did something different that I've never done before, and my wife mentioned this to me. If you guys are familiar with Popeyes, the fried chicken place, they sell turkeys, and apparently they're really good. And so I bought one. It showed up at the house today. I got a barbecue one, and I got the standard roasted one. But sourdough is going to be part of it now because it's a big part of my life. So there'll be some cranberry walnut. There'll be some jalapeno cheddar, maybe some plain, and then my wife will take care of the sides. But the sweet potato casserole is always a can't miss.
Sourdough stuffed Popeyes turkey at the Nitkowskis. Enjoy, my friend.
Good talking to you guys.
Bye, CJ.